12 terrifying recent ancient discoveries that changed everything we know about human history. Hello, and welcome to the Ancient History Channel. My friend, have you ever wondered whether what we know about history is truly complete? Or somewhere beneath layers of earth several feet deep, are there still secrets quietly waiting to be uncovered? The truth is, every time archaeologists drive their shovels into the ground, they're not just digging up old objects. Sometimes they uncover discoveries so shocking that even the scientific community is left stunned. It may sound a bit exaggerated, but think about it. There have been findings that forced researchers to completely rethink everything they once believed to be true. From strange tombs filled with mysteries to thousands of years old mummies preserved in ways that seem almost unbelievable. All of these are gradually repainting the picture of our past in a completely different way. What's even more fascinating is that these discoveries don't always come from grand expeditions. Sometimes they begin with something as ordinary as a construction project, a forgotten piece of land, or even a completely accidental dig. Yet it's precisely these accidents that open the door to entire worlds we never knew existed. So, are you curious to find out what discoveries archaeologists have made in recent years? Discoveries that may even change the way we've long understood human history? If you are, then join me in today's video, because each story you're about to hear will make you see human history from a completely different perspective, a place where the line between truth and the unknown becomes thinner than ever. Are you ready? If so, let's dive into the very first discovery right now. The mysterious tomb of 25 women and children and the unsolved secrets in Peru. Amid the arid lands of Trujillo, Peru, where layers of dust and sand have buried countless ancient stories, archaeologists have recently uncovered a discovery that sends chills down anyone's spine. It is the finding of a mass grave approximately 33 feet wide, sealed with hardened mud as if someone had deliberately locked away its secrets for centuries. Then, as the final layers of soil were cleared, what appeared before them was not one, but around 25 sets of human remains, most of them belonging to women and children. Hearing this alone is enough to give you goosebumps, isn't it? But for researchers, what puzzled them even more was not just the number of individuals buried there, but what lay beside them. Next to the skeletons were needles, stakes, and weaving tools, objects that may seem ordinary yet carry profound meaning. It appears these women were not ordinary individuals, but rather people devoted to weaving, a craft that held significant importance in that society. They were buried in a seated position with their legs drawn up as if preserving a ritual practice from their lifetime. Notably, most of them were under 30 years old. However, according to Jorge Meneses Bartra, the head of the research project, the average life expectancy at that time was only about 40 years. This means they were not considered young in the way we think of it today. Another detail that makes the story even more intriguing is that the bodies were wrapped in 2 layers of fabric, one made of cotton and another from plant fibers. This suggests that the burial was carried out carefully and intentionally, rather than in haste. Furthermore, dozens of ceramic artifacts found within the tomb reinforce the theory that these individuals likely belonged to the upper class, not common people. So what exactly caused them all to be laid to rest here? And how did they die? To this day, those questions remain unanswered. What is known, however, is that when mentioning this region, one cannot ignore Chan Chan, the ancient city whose name means shining sun in the Chimu language. It was once the largest city in the Americas during the pre-Columbian era and served as the center of the powerful Chimu Empire, which was known for its human sacrifice rituals. This empire reached its peak in the 15th century before being conquered by the Inca around 1470. Because of this, many have considered a seemingly reasonable hypothesis. Could these women and children have been victims of a sacrificial ritual? However, scientists argue that while this theory may sound plausible, reality is far more complex, and there is no evidence to support it. To date, archaeologists have found no clear signs indicating that they were sacrificed. There are no traces of mass trauma, nor any confirmed evidence of violent rituals. In other words, the cause of their deaths remains a mystery. Even within the tomb itself, certain details only deepen the confusion. One skeleton remains fully intact in its anatomical structure, suggesting it was buried shortly after death. Yet right beside it lies another skeleton that appears disturbed, as if it had been moved or reburied at a later time. So what really happened in this place? A mysterious ritual? An unrecorded catastrophe? Or a story that history has simply forgotten? Do you have a reasonable explanation for this case? If you do, don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below so everyone can join the discussion. 200-year-old body preserved as if newly laid to rest. Amid the fast-paced modern life of New York City, where it seems every story has already been told and every mystery uncovered, an unexpected discovery in the borough of Queens in 2018 left both the public astonished and scientists deeply puzzled. Specifically, during the construction of a building project, a group of workers accidentally struck a strange object beneath the ground. As they dug it up, they uncovered a heavy iron coffin, and inside it lay the remarkably well-preserved body of a young woman. At first glance, the body appeared so intact that it seemed as though she had passed away only days earlier. This immediately prompted local police to step in, suspecting it might be a recent homicide. However, all initial assumptions were quickly dismissed once the autopsy results were released. And from that point on, a strange story began to unfold, taking us back nearly 2 centuries in time. The woman in the coffin was identified as an African American who had died approximately 170 years ago, at the age of around 25 to 30. She stood about 5 feet 3 inches tall and was found in a carefully prepared state, dressed in a silk nightgown typical of the 19th century, wearing a hand-knitted cap, long knee-high stockings, with her hair neatly styled and her body thoroughly cleansed. These details suggest that she was not only given a respectful burial, but may have held a certain social status, or at the very least, was deeply loved by her family. However, what truly astonished researchers was the near-perfect preservation of her body, especially her skin, which retained both its texture and pigmentation to such a degree that forensic examiners could clearly observe distinct smallpox scars on her forehead and chest, believed to be the cause of her death. What makes this even more remarkable is that her body showed no signs of being embalmed with any preservation chemicals, a technique common in modern times, yet completely absent in this case. So how was her body preserved so extraordinarily well for nearly 2 centuries? The answer may lie in the iron coffin itself, a seemingly simple object that proved to be the key factor. Experts believe this type of coffin was designed to be completely airtight, preventing air, moisture, and bacteria from entering. This created ideal conditions for the natural preservation of the body. Such coffins were manufactured in the mid-19th century by specialized companies and were typically used by the upper class. During times when deadly diseases like smallpox were widespread, these sealed coffins were often used to prevent the spread of infection from the deceased. The story of this young woman's body is not only a shocking archaeological discovery, but also opens the door to many unanswered questions. Who is she? Why was she buried in a place that has now become a construction site in the heart of New York City? What was her family's life like during that turbulent period in history? And how many more secrets still lie silently beneath the city's surface? These questions continue to intrigue both archaeologists and the public alike. And what about you? What do you think? Knowing that right beneath your feet, in one of the most modern cities in the world, there are still pieces of history quietly waiting to be told. 1,000-year-old skeleton with hair still intact. The mystery atop a pyramid in Peru that stunned scientists. Did you know that right in the heart of modern-day Lima, Peru, where traffic never stops and life moves at a relentless pace, there exists a place where time seems to have been forgotten? That place is the ancient site of Huaca Pucllana. And it was here, during what seemed like a routine excavation, that archaeologists stumbled upon a discovery so eerie it sent chills down anyone who heard about it. The remains of a person over 1,000 years old, preserved in an almost unbelievable condition, especially the brown hair, which still retained its shape as if time had never touched it. Just imagine this. A person who left this world 1,000 years ago, yet traces of them remain so vividly visible. What would that feel like? It certainly wouldn't feel ordinary, would it? Archaeologist Mirella Ganoza, who directly participated in the excavation, stated that the remains were found inside a tomb located at the very top of a clay pyramid standing over 69 feet tall. This structure was no random mound of earth. It was a carefully constructed building with 7 distinct tiers, built by people of the ancient Lima culture. More importantly, this site once served as a ceremonial and religious center, meaning not just anyone could be buried in such a significant location. The remains were discovered in a seated position, with the legs drawn up, a burial style commonly seen in many ancient cultures. However, what truly caught the attention of scientists was a smaller detail. The individual's teeth were almost completely unchanged, indicating an extraordinary level of preservation. The body had been wrapped in a simple layer of fabric, not overly elaborate but sufficient to maintain its condition over the centuries. Moreover, inside the tomb were several accompanying artifacts, including ceramic vessels and woven textiles. These items are not only valuable in themselves, but also serve as important clues that help archaeologists determine the age and cultural background of the deceased. Based on this evidence, researchers believe the remains date back to around 1000 AD during the time of the Ixma culture, a community that once thrived along the central coast of Peru. The Ixma are believed to have built at least 16 pyramids and controlled the region until the rise of the Inca Empire, which eventually replaced them. This means the remains are not just of a single individual, but part of an entire civilization that once existed and then vanished. Interestingly, the Huaca Pucllana site itself was constructed around 500 AD and is now located right in the center of what is today Miraflores. In other words, for hundreds of years, history lay silently beneath the feet of modern society without anyone realizing it. To this day, the gender of the remains has not yet been determined, adding yet another layer of mystery to this already fascinating story. However, thanks to this discovery, scientists now have a valuable opportunity to study more deeply into the health, lifestyle, and social structure of ancient Peruvian societies, and it doesn't stop there. In 2023, at the archaeological site of Cajamarquilla, about 15.5 miles from Lima, another mummy was discovered. This time, it was a teenager, believed to have been the victim of a ritual sacrifice. As you can see, two discoveries, two completely different stories, one still shrouded in mystery, the other bearing clear signs of ancient ritual practices. So what do you think? Was the mummy atop that pyramid an ordinary person or someone of special importance in ancient society? And if given the chance, would you dare to stand before it in real life and look closely into the face of the past? 2,000-year-old pizza fresco. In a recent excavation at the center of Pompeii, Italian archaeologists discovered a wall painting dating back more than 2,000 years, located inside an ancient house near what is believed to have been a bakery. What stunned the world was the image depicted in this fresco, a dish carefully placed on a plate, accompanied by a cup of wine and fruit, portraying a meal that is both simple and elegant. But what truly captured everyone's attention was the flatbread at the center of the plate, an item whose shape, structure, and presentation bear a striking resemblance to what we now recognize as pizza. According to Gabriel Zuchtregel, director of the Pompeii Archaeological Park, the dish shown in the painting could be considered a distant ancestor of modern pizza. Although it lacks two key ingredients we consider essential today, tomatoes and mozzarella cheese, which only appeared in Europe centuries later, it clearly shares many similarities with focaccia, a traditional Italian flatbread. This type of bread is typically brushed with olive oil, sprinkled with herbs, and sometimes topped with ingredients such as onions, olives, or herb-based sauces similar to pesto. It was commonly served as an appetizer or enjoyed alongside wine and ancient meals. More than just a simple food item, the image of this flatbread represents an entire aspect of culinary culture in ancient Roman society. Its depiction alongside fruit and wine, placed on a silver plate, reflects a clear blend between everyday life and the refined lifestyle of the upper class at the time. It was a humble dish, yet sophisticated enough to appear on the tables of the wealthy, demonstrating the diversity in taste and dining customs of ancient people. This discovery not only surprised culinary experts, but also opened a new window into understanding how many of the foods we enjoy today may have originated thousands of years ago. The act of baking flatbread, adding seasonings, and using herbs, olive oil, and wine was already part of Roman meals, showing that people of the past possessed remarkable culinary creativity, even without the modern kitchen tools we rely on today. Interestingly, this fresco was not found in a grand palace or lavish temple, but in an ordinary home near an ancient bakery. This suggests that such distinctive foods were not reserved solely for the elite, but were also part of everyday life for ordinary people in Pompeii. That sense of familiarity adds even more value to the discovery. It tells a deeply human story about baking, eating, and enjoying the flavors of life, even if it was just through a simple slice of bread served on a silver plate. Today, pizza has become one of the most popular foods in the world, with countless variations across different countries, from traditional Neapolitan pizza to cheese-loaded American styles and seafood pizzas in parts of Asia. But perhaps every time you take a bite of a hot, fragrant slice of pizza, you are, in a way, connecting with history, reaching back to a baker in Pompeii 2,000 years ago, placing a freshly made flatbread on a plate, crafted with heart, herbs, and boundless creativity. Sometimes history is not only found in books, it can be discovered in an ancient piece of bread, a painting on a wall, or even in the fleeting flavor of a familiar dish. And pizza, as we've just explored, may not simply be food, it could very well be one of humanity's greatest culinary legacies. 2,700-year-old toilet reveals a shocking truth. Ancient elites lived luxuriously, but not cleanly. It may sound strange, but sometimes the most astonishing archaeological discoveries come from the most ordinary things. Not gold, not treasure, just a toilet. A perfect example of this was found right in the heart of Jerusalem, where archaeologists uncovered a relic about 2,700 years old. An ancient toilet located within the ruins of a palace overlooking the old city. According to scientist Yakov Bilig, this toilet dates back to the 7th century BCE, toward the end of the period of the Judean kings. At first, when it was discovered, many people doubted it. It looked like nothing more than a stone block with a hole on top. How could that be called a toilet? But as archaeologists dug deeper, they found a cesspit carved directly into the limestone beneath it. At that point, everything became clearer than ever. Although the excavation has not been fully completed due to funding limitations, researchers estimate that the restroom area measures about 5 by 6.5 feet, roughly comparable to a modern bathroom. Hearing this, you can probably already imagine it, right? People in the past were not nearly as primitive as we often assume. The toilet seat itself was also found on site, and interestingly, it wasn't made from modern materials like plastic or acrylic, but carved from limestone, a durable material, though probably quite cold to sit on, if you can imagine. What's even more remarkable is its location. This toilet wasn't in an ordinary home. It was installed inside an Iron Age palace, where columns were decorated with symbols of the Judean kings. In other words, this wasn't something common people could use. It was a privilege reserved for the elite. Back then, having a private toilet was already a luxury. But what might surprise you even more is that this luxury didn't necessarily mean cleanliness. During the research process, archaeologists discovered a rather unusual detail. Around 30 to 40 bowls were placed within the restroom area. At first, that sounds absurd, right? Who would bring bowls into a place like that to eat? But precisely because it seems so illogical, scientists proposed a more reasonable hypothesis. These bowls may have been used to hold scented oils or aromatic wax to reduce unpleasant odors. It sounds refined, but the truth behind it isn't quite so pleasant. Scientists examined the cesspit below to better understand the diet and digestive health of the elite during the late Iron Age. From the pit, they collected 15 sediment samples and, under a microscope, found eggs of roundworms, tapeworms, whipworms, and pinworms. This suggests that even the wealthy class in ancient Jerusalem faced serious sanitation problems. The reasons aren't hard to guess. These parasites typically spread through the fecal-oral route, meaning improper waste management contaminated water and food sources. Even the use of human waste as fertilizer for crops likely contributed to the spread of disease. As for tapeworms, they were most likely caused by consuming undercooked or improperly prepared meat. In simple terms, despite living in palaces, having private toilets, and even using fragrances to mask odors, they still couldn't escape parasitic infections. And that's what truly makes this discovery so thought-provoking. It turns out that wealth and power in the past did not necessarily mean health or cleanliness as we often imagine. At a time when medicine was still underdeveloped, many people may have carried parasites in their bodies for their entire lives without any effective treatment. You see, something as ordinary as a toilet can unexpectedly expose a hidden side of history. Fascinating, isn't it? Giant footprint. A clue to a forgotten ancient human species. Have you ever imagined that giant humans once existed on Earth? Beings taller and larger than any modern human? It sounds like something out of Greek mythology or ancient folklore, doesn't it? But recently, in a remote mountainous region of southern Africa, a shocking discovery has forced archaeologists to reconsider what we know about human history. A massive footprint measuring up to 47 inches in length has been discovered, and according to many researchers, it could be compelling evidence of an ancient human species of enormous size. This footprint was found imprinted on a steep rock face, something that immediately raised doubts. After all, how could anyone walk barefoot and leave a footprint on a vertical cliff? Even the most optimistic observers found it hard to believe this could be real. However, scientists did not rush to dismiss it. They conducted a series of technical analyses and thorough geological surveys, ultimately concluding that the footprint was originally formed on flat ground. Over millions of years, tectonic activity caused the rock layer to tilt and eventually stand nearly upright as it appears today. In other words, the footprint didn't climb the cliff as rumors suggest. Rather, it was literally bent and lifted by time and natural forces. Ironically, this very process helped preserve the footprint, protecting it from being buried or destroyed over time. But that's not all. Another fascinating hypothesis has also been proposed. The footprint was not formed in soft clay or sand, materials that could easily be washed away after heavy rains. Instead, it may have been imprinted on a layer of cooling magma, when the ground still retained heat from ancient volcanic activity. This would have allowed the surface to remain soft enough to capture the shape before quickly hardening into stone, creating a time sculpture that has endured for millions of years. The big question is, who or what left that footprint? If the footprint is 47 inches long, then its maker must have stood around 16 to 17 feet tall, far beyond the average height of modern humans, and even nearly double the tallest individuals ever recorded. Could there have been a giant human species that once coexisted with, or even predated, our ancestors, Homo sapiens? Or is this simply an unusual geological formation that happens to resemble a human footprint? Scientists still don't have a definitive answer. Some believe this could be overlooked evidence from a period that science has yet to fully explore. Others are more cautious, arguing that further interdisciplinary research, from paleontology and geology to anthropological archaeology, is needed to determine what truly happened in this remote region of Africa. But whether you believe in ancient legends or simply enjoy the mysteries of the past, it's hard to deny that this footprint has opened a new door, a doorway into a time not found in textbooks, where creatures of immense size and strength may once have existed, far beyond our current understanding. What do you think? Is this a message from a long-forgotten era, or just a playful trick of nature? Who knows? Millions of years from now, even our own footprints today might become a mystery that future generations struggle to unravel. 2,000-year-old city humanity never knew existed. There are stories that seem to exist only in ancient books, faint records that no one can confidently say are true or just myths. But sometimes, history has a way of surprising us, completely rewriting what we thought we knew. And this time, near the small town of Deza, archaeologists have uncovered something that could force researchers to rethink the ancient past of Spain. A city more than 2,000 years old, with almost no clear historical records mentioning it before. Just hearing that already sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? For a long time, this area was largely overlooked, not because it wasn't important, but because it sat right next to a quarry. People were focused on extracting resources, not imagining that beneath the ground lay an entire ancient city. Ironically, that very neglect helped preserve what remained of the past. Recent excavations conducted by the Polytechnic University of Madrid have begun to reveal the first traces: stone walls, architectural remains, and especially the presence of a large Roman fort located right nearby, all of which feel like scattered pieces slowly forming a complete picture. According to Vicente Alejandre, the mayor of Deza, no systematic archaeological study had ever been carried out in this area to properly assess its historical significance. In other words, for years, a hidden chapter of history may have been lying right beneath people's feet without anyone realizing it. But what makes this discovery even more intriguing is the hypothesis currently being explored by scientists. By comparing ancient texts and historical legends, researchers have begun to suspect that this city may actually be Titiacos, a place mentioned in ancient accounts but whose exact location has never been confirmed. If this turns out to be true, then this is not just an ancient city. It would be a ghost of history finally brought back into the light. Titiacos is believed to have been a stronghold of the Celtiberians, a people once thought to have lived mainly in scattered tribal groups, never forming large urban settlements. But this discovery could completely change how we understand them. Think about it. If a culture once considered simple actually built large cities like this, then have we been misjudging an entire historical era? And the story becomes even more dramatic. Tityakos is also believed to be connected to the Sertorian War, a brutal civil conflict that took place between 80 and 72 BCE, fought between the rebel forces of Sertorius and the Roman government in Rome. It was a turbulent period where cities were not just places to live, but strategic military strongholds. The discovery of a Roman fortress right next to the site makes this hypothesis even more compelling. It is possible that after the region was conquered and incorporated into the Roman province of Hispania Citerior, the Romans built a military base there, Catuosaur, to control and secure the territory. Everything seems to be slowly fitting together, but there is still no definitive answer. For now, Spanish scientists continue to excavate and study the site in greater depth to confirm whether this truly is Tityakos. Because every artifact uncovered, every wall revealed, could be a key to unlocking a chapter of history that has been forgotten for over 2 millennia. And perhaps the most thought-provoking lesson here is this: history is not always found in textbooks. Sometimes it lies right beneath our feet, waiting for the day it is finally discovered. So what do you think? If a city that once didn't exist suddenly appears before us, would you trust what history books say, or start questioning everything we thought we knew? The ancient shadow warrior tomb reveals the truth about the Avar army that once terrified Eastern Europe. During renovation and expansion work at an old cemetery in Vinkovci, eastern Croatia, workers accidentally discovered 2 unusual graves that were completely different from the surrounding burials. The moment they saw them, they immediately stopped work. No one dared to touch them again. Think about it. What could possibly make people who are used to digging through soil and stone every day suddenly hesitate like that? No one knew at first, right? It wasn't until archaeologists were called in that everything gradually became clear. They confirmed that these were not ordinary graves, but the resting places of 2 warriors belonging to one of the most mysterious armies in history, the Avars. A name that, if you've never heard it before, is not surprising, because they themselves vanished from history in a very puzzling way. The Avars once struck fear across Eastern Europe during the early Middle Ages. They were skilled horsemen, constantly on the move, and especially famous for their deadly archery skills. But despite their former power, very few traces of them remain today. That is why this discovery feels like opening a door that had long been sealed shut. Inside the 2 graves, scientists found the nearly intact skeletons of 2 adult men. Even from the bone structure alone, it is clear they were strong warriors, accustomed to a life of combat. In one of the graves, researchers also found a bronze belt buckle dating from around the 7th to 9th centuries AD, a small detail, but one that helps define an entire historical period. According to Anita Rapan-Papesha, the archaeologist directly involved in the excavation, what makes this discovery especially important is that there had previously been no clear evidence of Avar burial sites in this region. The reason may lie in their burial style. The graves closely resemble Roman ones on the surface, making them easy to mistake unless carefully examined. But the most surprising detail is this: these warriors were not buried alone. They were buried together with their horses. It may sound unusual, but for the Avars, this was completely normal. For them, horses were not just transportation. They were battle companions, an inseparable part of their lives. Being buried with their horses reflected a deep belief that even in the afterlife, they would continue their journey together. However, another detail makes the story even more puzzling. One of the graves had been disturbed by grave robbers. But strangely, although the horses were buried with valuable equipment, they were left completely untouched. Why would that be? Did the robbers ignore valuable items, or were they afraid of something? That question still has no answer to this day. What we do know is that the Avars once built a powerful state known as the Avar Khaganate. They forced even great empires, including the Byzantine Empire, to treat them with caution. But after many years of continuous warfare, they gradually weakened and disappeared around the 7th century after conflicts with the Bulgarians. An army that once spread fear across an entire continent vanished almost without a trace. And now, the 2 graves in Vinkovci are slowly revealing the first pieces of that forgotten story. Because of this is not just an archaeological discovery, it is a reminder that history still holds many untold stories. The oldest cave painting in the world, discovered in Indonesia. Tens of thousands of years ago, when humans had no written language and no books, how do you think they told the story of their world? According to scientists, the answer may lie deep inside a remote cave on the island of Sulawesi in Indonesia, where archaeologists have recently discovered what is believed to be the oldest known painting in the world. The painting itself is not overly complex, it simply depicts a wild boar. But what makes it extraordinary is its age, at least 45,500 years old. Just hearing that number is enough to make you stop in disbelief, isn't it? This artwork is located on the wall of Ling Tadonge Cave, a place almost completely isolated from the outside world. To reach it, you must hike for nearly an hour through rugged terrain, and it is only accessible during the dry season. The local Bugis community even confirms that no Western researchers had ever set foot there or seen this painting before. In other words, it had remained silently hidden for tens of thousands of years. The painting measures about 53 by 21 inches and was created using a dark red pigment. The image of the wild boar is quite clear, showing its raised bristling mane and the distinctive features of an adult male. Behind it, there are also two handprints, possibly a way for the ancient artists to sign their work. It may sound simple, but think about it. Nearly 50,000 years ago, humans were already able to observe, remember, and deliberately recreate images in this way. What does that tell us? According to researcher Adam Brum, the Sulawesi wild boar was not only a common prey animal, but also an important part of prehistoric human life. People hunted this species for tens of thousands of years, and over time it became a central subject in their art, especially during the Ice Age. But the story doesn't end there. Before this boar painting was discovered, scientists from Griffith University had already found another cave painting in Layang Bulu Sepang, also on Sulawesi, dating back around 43,900 years. That painting depicts a group of hunters, but strangely, they do not look entirely human. The figures have elongated faces, protruding mouths like animal snouts. Some have tails, while others appear to have beak-like features. At first glance, it feels more like mythology than reality. However, scientists believe these may represent humans wearing animal skins during hunts, either as camouflage or for spiritual purposes. You see, even in such ancient times, humans were already imagining, storytelling, and creating hybrid forms of half-human, half-animal figures. And it is cave paintings like these that help us better understand the journey of humanity. Many scientists believe our ancestors migrated to Australia around 65,000 years ago, and to do so, they would have had to pass through islands in Indonesia, including Sulawesi. These paintings are not just art, they are traces of a massive journey. They show that early humans were not only surviving and hunting, but also thinking, imagining, and recording the world around them in their own way. This may represent some of the earliest steps toward the development of language, thought, and ultimately, the civilization we live in today. So what do you think? How can something as simple as a painting contain a story spanning tens of thousands of years? And when you look at that wild boar image, do you see just an ancient drawing or the very first message from our ancestors to the future? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Who knows? Your insights might one day help future generations better understand where we all came from. Cremated remains reveal a shocking secret of the Aztec Empire. Deep beneath the ancient layers of Plaza Garibaldi, today a bustling square filled with tourists and the sounds of mariachi music, a terrifying secret from the past has unexpectedly come to light. Archaeologists from Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History, INAH, during excavations at the site, discovered a ceramic vessel containing human ashes. At first glance, it may seem simple, but behind this jar lies a chilling story of ritual sacrifice once carried out by the powerful Aztec Empire. Have you ever wondered what drove the Aztecs, a civilization renowned for its advanced knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and architecture, to perform such blood-soaked rituals? Let's follow this newly uncovered archaeological trail and explore why this urn of cremated remains may change the way we understand the spiritual world of the Aztecs. Inside the discovery, experts also found 13 incense burners arranged around an ancient altar. What makes this even more fascinating is their precise alignment along the east-west and north-south axes. Does that sound familiar? This corresponds directly to the Tonal Pahuali system, a 260-day astronomical calendar used by the Aztecs to determine sacred timing for important rituals. And why the number 13? In Aztec belief, the sky was divided into 13 levels, each inhabited by different gods. Could it be that this arrangement was not only for worship, but also a way to symbolically open a gateway for the souls of sacrificial victims to ascend to the divine realm? The vessel containing the cremated remains is clear evidence that human sacrifice rituals once took place here, one of the most controversial and haunting practices of the Aztec civilization. According to historical records and confirmation from archaeologist Mara Becerra, victims were first sacrificed, then cremated, and their ashes placed inside the vessel as an offering, a complete dedication to the gods. This raises an unsettling question. Who were the chosen victims? Were they prisoners of war, honored individuals selected for sacrifice, or simply unfortunate souls caught in the wrong place at the wrong time? And what could have driven such a highly advanced civilization to believe that the prosperity of the community depended on the death of an individual? Can you imagine the eerie scene? Fires burning in the middle of a plaza, prayers echoing through the air, and thick incense smoke rising into the sky? A ritual both mystical and bloody, reflecting a powerful yet deeply unsettling belief in supernatural forces. If I say this story is more than just an archaeological discovery, that it is a window into the Aztec soul, where life and death intertwined and where sacrifice was believed to be the path to the gods, I would not be exaggerating at all. The oldest pearl diving town in the UAE, hidden beneath the turquoise waters of the Persian Gulf, Sinai Island, a peaceful island off the coast of Al-Quwain in the United Arab Emirates, UAE, has suddenly become the focus of global archaeological attention after a groundbreaking discovery shed light on the long and complex history of a region once known as a thriving commercial hub. On January 20th, during a large-scale excavation, archaeologists uncovered an ancient pearl diving settlement believed to be the oldest ever found in the Gulf region. This discovery provides vivid evidence that people here were already building communities, developing professions, and living in stable settlements thousands of years ago. According to the research team from the Al-Quwain Department of Tourism and Archaeology, in collaboration with the United Arab Emirates University, the Italian Archaeological Mission, and the Institute for the Study of the Ancient World at New York University, the settlement dates back to the late 6th century AD, during the pre-Islamic period, before the Prophet Muhammad founded Islam in the early 7th century. Covering an area of over 30 acres, the town once housed thousands of people and contained hundreds of homes with diverse architectural styles, from modest, tightly packed dwellings to larger buildings with central courtyards, clear evidence of social stratification within this ancient community. What makes the discovery even more remarkable is that the pearl diving town is located just south of a 1,400-year-old Christian monastery previously discovered on Sinai Island. This has led scientists to suggest that the inhabitants may have been Christians, painting a far more diverse cultural and religious picture of the Arabian Peninsula before the rise of Islam than previously understood. It was also here that one of the region's most important historical industries, pearl diving, began to emerge, gradually revealed through layers of soil, fragments of shells, and forgotten diving tools. Associate Professor of Archaeology Timothy Power from the United Arab Emirates University stated that this is the first physical evidence confirming the existence of ancient Khaliji pearl diving settlements, the direct ancestors of modern cities such as Dubai. He described homes built from coral stone and lime mortar, materials sourced directly from the surrounding environment, with tightly clustered layouts that reflect densely populated, year-round living conditions. This is in stark contrast to the seasonal diving camps commonly described in historical records. Inside many of the houses, archaeologists found clear evidence of pearl diving activity. Tiny pearls left behind in soil layers, along with tools used by divers, such as weighted stones that help them descend quickly to the seabed for short dives. This not only highlights the sophistication of ancient diving techniques, but also reveals the harsh and dangerous conditions faced by those who searched for these natural treasures. Statistically, only one pearl is found in every 10,000 oysters, meaning millions upon millions of shells were harvested, leaving behind massive ecological waste deposits that can still be felt underfoot by visitors walking on the island today. The pearl industry was not only an economic activity, but also a deeply rooted cultural symbol of the Persian Gulf region. According to the Al-Quwain Department of Tourism, pearl diving has existed in this area for over 7,000 years. In the 19th century, in neighboring Abu Dhabi, nearly two-thirds of all men were involved in pearl diving, demonstrating the industry's central role in Gulf society before the discovery of oil. However, with the rise of cultured pearls and the global economic downturn following World War I, the natural pearl industry rapidly collapsed. This is why the discovery of the ancient pearl town is not only archaeologically significant, but also serves as a timely reminder. The UAE, once heavily shaped by oil wealth, now faces the challenge of transitioning its development model amid the global climate crisis and carbon reduction goals. The millions of discarded shells from ancient times stand as a powerful symbol of the environmental cost of resource extraction, a historical lesson about prosperity and ecological limits. With plans to develop Sinai Island into an archaeological tourism destination, the UAE is demonstrating a commitment to balancing preservation and sustainable development. More than just a tourist site, this ancient pearl town will tell the story of people who lived over 1,400 years ago. People who dove deep into the ocean, built towns on sand, and left behind a precious chapter of history beneath the blue waters of the Gulf. The oldest known carnivorous animal fossil on Earth revealed. Let's go back more than 500 million years to a time when there were no humans, no dinosaurs, and even complex life was just beginning to take shape. What do you imagine Earth was like back then? Gentle creatures? Primitive landscapes so beautiful they take your breath away? All of that is true, but only partially. Because in that ancient primordial ocean, there was already a first predator emerging, quietly, but playing a crucial role in the history of evolution. The story begins in a peaceful forest in Charnwood Forest, central England. A place that, at first glance, seems completely unrelated to an ancient ocean, right? But that's before you learn that it was here that British scientists discovered a fossil that immediately drew global attention. It belonged to a predatory organism from the Ediacaran period, dating back around 560 million years. Yes, you heard that right. 560 million years. A number almost impossible for the human mind to fully comprehend. This organism has been named Aurora Lumina Attenboroughi. The name may sound complex, but its meaning is beautiful. Dawn lantern, symbolizing the beginning of complex life. The species name Attenborough honors legendary naturalist David Attenborough, who has dedicated his life to telling the story of nature. But what makes this organism truly remarkable is not just its name. At 560 million years old, it is considered the oldest known carnivorous animal ever discovered, appearing roughly 20 million years earlier than the previous record holder. That means that very early in Earth's history, life was not only existing, it was already hunting. Doesn't that make you think? Even when life was still in its earliest stages, the game of survival had already begun. This organism measured about 8 inches in length, and its fossil imprint was preserved on a slab of siltstone. Around it, scientists also found other fossils, suggesting it was part of an ancient underwater ecosystem. Researchers believe the entire site was suddenly buried by volcanic lava flows and ash cascading from an underwater volcanic slope, a catastrophic event that accidentally froze a moment of history and time. From the fossil, scientists observed a branching body structure with dense tentacle-like appendages, likely its tools for capturing prey in the ancient ocean. These features led researchers to believe it may be an early ancestor of the modern Cnidaria group, which includes jellyfish, corals, and sea anemones. Familiar, right? The creatures we see today may have originated from an ancient predator like this. Another important detail is that this organism appears to have had a primitive skeletal structure embedded into the seafloor. Although the fossil is incomplete, it may represent one of the earliest known signs of skeletal development in the history of life. This suggests that evolution began laying its foundations much earlier than previously thought. So far, only a single fossil specimen has been discovered, but scientists believe that more specimens are still out there waiting to be found, missing pieces that could help us better understand the origins of complex life on Earth. And perhaps the most thought-provoking aspect is not its size or shape, but its meaning. A tiny organism that lived 560 million years ago may have the power to reshape how we understand our own origins. As you can see, the world's most mysterious archaeological discoveries are not just pieces of history, They are also fascinating stories that spark human curiosity and the desire to explore. From lost ancient cities to skeletal remains and mummies that still hold unsolved secrets, each discovery opens a door into a legendary past and civilizations that once existed. These findings not only help us better understand the origins, culture, and way of life of our ancestors, but also challenge modern knowledge and raise many unanswered questions. And it is precisely this sense of mystery that makes them an endless source of inspiration for scientists, explorers, and history enthusiasts around the world. Perhaps in the near future, new excavations will reveal even more unknown truths, helping us rewrite the story of humanity in a clearer and more complete way. So always keep your curiosity and passion for discovery alive, because history still holds many mysteries waiting for you and the world to uncover. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss any of the exciting discoveries from ancient history. And now, goodbye and see you next time.